All right, welcome to AP Statistics. This is our first lesson notes video that you'll be watching this year. There'll be many of these as we go. Hopefully at some point we'll be in person and we can do this together. But anyway, this is the introduction notes. The point of today, if you watch the first video, is to talk about what is statistics. Okay, if you just follow along, statistics is a way of reasoning along with a collection of tools and methods designed to help us understand the world around us. It's a way of thinking, it's an approach, okay? So we're gonna learn a way to view the world that's a little different than you're probably used to. And I like that they say it's a way of reasoning, it's a way of thinking, okay? That's one definition. Here's another one. Statistics is the practice or science of collecting and analyzing numerical data in large quantities, especially for the purpose of inferring proportions in a whole from those in a representative sample. Now, a couple things I want to highlight out of this definition. Statistics is a science, okay? You're learning about it as a math course, but statistics is actually a science, okay? And it involves collecting data, analyzing data, and then drawing inferences, okay? So one thing that's central to the idea of statistics is that you would take a small sample of people and find out how they think or feel about a certain topic. And then if we've chosen those people in that sample correctly, their feelings will magnify what the whole group of people that they were chosen from thinks or feels. In an election year like this, we're looking at polling all the time, where we take a small sample of people and decide what percent are going to vote for Biden this year, let's say, and we try to infer that percentage of people in the whole population are going to vote for Biden. So that is central to the idea of statistics. Another definition, what is statistics? Statistics is the science of learning from data and of measuring, controlling, and communicating uncertainty. And it thereby provides the navigation essential for controlling the course of scientific and societal advances. Again, I want to stress it's a science, okay? And that we're going to be learning from data. And this last sentence I think is neat because it talks about controlling the course of scientific and societal advances. It's through statistics that we can learn about problems in society and try to find a way to fix them. It's a way to guide science in the right direction. So statistics is a major part of almost everything you'll do. What is a statistician? You can read through these yourself, but it's someone who uses mathematical techniques to analyze and interpret data and draw conclusions. Okay, you can see some of the things we do is collect data, analyze it, draw conclusions. Okay, and there's a lot of planning. Those first four are really in the planning stage of how you would get your data or how you would be a statistician. So statisticians will do all of those things. Now, we saw this in almost every definition that statisticians use data, okay? But what are data? Well, data are characteristics or information, usually numerical, but they don't have to be, that are collected through observation. In a more technical sense, data is a set of values of qualitative or quantitative variables about one or more persons or objects. If you look at the little graphic here, we have a bunch of Legos, okay? And you can see that first group, that's just a bunch of data, okay? It's hard to tell, are there more blue Legos than yellow Legos? Are there more white than red? Very difficult to see what's happening there. Notice if I sort those Legos into their colors, now I can see a little bit more information. I can see that it looks like there's a lot of yellow Legos, and maybe not so many green ones, etc. Then I can arrange them so I kind of stacked them up a little more organized than before. I can see that the yellow Legos might have the most, and the green might be less. But what a statistician would do is present them visually, like the bottom one, where someone can look at that and go, well, wow, yeah, red and yellow Legos dominate that pile of Legos. And there's very few black, green, light green, and tan Legos. And blue and white were just below the yellow and red. But I can tell a lot more about the data in the last picture when I've presented it in a way that's very organized, etc. So that's one of the things a statistician will do is we'll take data and try to turn it into something where you can visually see relationships and connections in the data. So that's another thing that we'll do in statistics is take data and present it in a way where we can learn from it. Now here are some definitions that we need to know as we study statistics. This is one of the ideas that's central to statistics at the top. We'll have a target population, which is just a group of people. We'll get to that definition in a second. But we will try to take a sample from that population, and the sample is where we get our data from. And then we'll analyze the data and try to draw some conclusions, and hopefully that sample will represent the entire population so that sample is actually telling us something about the population. That's what we hope for in statistics. Okay? So this idea of sample and population is very important. The definition of a sample is simply a small group of people or objects chosen to represent a larger group that they are a part of. We're going to spend an entire unit of AP Statistics talking about how to take a sample correctly. Once we learn how to do that, if you take a sample correctly, it can give us information that represents the entire population. And that's really the power of statistics, is we can find out how a population thinks or feels about something without talking to every single member of the population. And that's where the sample comes in. A population is an entire group of people or objects which share something in common. So residents of Bloomington are a population. What they have in common is that they live in Bloomington. Students at Jefferson High School are a population because what they have in common is they are people that go to Jefferson High School. Being in an AP statistics class is a population. What you have in common is that you are all taking AP statistics. So a population is just an entire group of people, okay, that have something in common. So this is crucial, this little statement right here, it's in bold. Taking a sample from a population and using that sample to learn something about that population is the central idea in the study of statistics. Okay, that in a nutshell is what statistics is all about. Okay, we'll be learning all about the processes behind all of that. A couple more definitions. A variable is any characteristic of a population or sample that varies from individual to individual. So things like eye color, that's a variable. It varies from person to person. Some people have blue eyes, some people have brown eyes, some people have hazel eyes, etc. Or people's heights. Not everyone in a group is exactly the same height, obviously. So a variable is just something that we would measure across a group of people. And then, like what color was your Lego from the little chart on the previous slide? The variable would be the color. And then we can organize that information to learn something about that group of people. Variation is the next definition, and that's the naturally occurring differences we will see when we collect data on a variable from a sample or a population. So the height of people in this room, if we were in the classroom, every person in the room is going to be a different height. Okay, not everybody is the same height. The hair color of the people in this room, not everybody has the same hair color. especially nowadays where everybody has some shade of highlights in their hair. No two people have exactly the same hair color. GPA of the people in this room or in our class. It's very rare for two people to have exactly the same GPA. Okay. So variation is everywhere. There's a little mistake here. Just ignore that. Variation is everywhere. Trying to understand and explain the variation of a variable is central to statistical reasoning. If everybody was the same height, it wouldn't be very interesting to look at height. But since there's a wide range of heights, then it becomes interesting to see what's the average height. What height makes you really tall? What height makes you really short, etc. Okay, so it's the variation that's the interesting part of the data. Another definition of statistics right here is the study of variation. Okay, that we want to look at and quantify the variation of variables that we measure. And then one last term is context. And when we collect data on a variable, we always want to know who, what, where, when, and why. So like, who did we collect the data from? What did we collect? Where were we when we collected it? When did we collect it? Did we collect it yesterday? Did we collect it 5 years ago? That matters. And then why did we collect it? All of that stuff, the context of the information will be very important as we think about the relevance of the data. Okay, so we'll always be looking at context. On this slide, this is just fields that employ statisticians. So if any of these interest you, and statistics interests you, you could do statistics in any one of these fields. And this is not an exhaustive list. It's just meant to give you an idea of the things you could do as a statistician. You can pause the video if you want and read through those. But nowadays you can almost find a stats job in every field. And then what kind of job title might I have? These are just different things that statisticians are called. Business analysts, professors, economists, software engineers, mathematicians, risk analysts, et cetera, et cetera. So you might do one of these jobs, but your primary job would be using statistics. Thanks for watching the video, and you can now move on to your homework assignment.